Lillahi ta'ala. So we're moving right along in these 8 rules. We're still under the second rule. Now, the second rule, the Shaykh told us, the second rule is any belief, action, or saying that has sacrilege, disrespect, dishonoring the matters of the religion. I'm just summarizing. And then after that, he zeroed in on statements, explicit statements or non-explicit statements in blasphemy. And we did say, like what this subtitle here says, that you don't have to rush to make takfir. Takfir means to deem a person as a kafir or to attribute blasphemy to someone. Takfir means attributing blasphemy to someone. You don't have to rush to deem a person as a kafir, even if it's explicit, because it could be that he doesn't understand what he's saying. So here the Shaykh says here, he says, also one should not rush to deem a person a blasphemer when he pronounced explicit blasphemy. So if you wanted to know a documentation from the Shaykh where he said so, where did the Shaykh say you don't have to rush to deem a person as a kafir for explicit blasphemy? Here in this booklet, Qawa Muhimmah. Now in the Arabic, the statement actually starts up here before the subtitle. ويعلم من هنا أنه لا ينبغي التسرع في إطلاق التكفير على شخص نطق بكلام غير صريح. It is known from this that it is not good to rush to say that a person is a disbeliever for pronouncing something that is not explicit in blasphemy. Then he said, and when he pronounced explicit blasphemy, and here where it says in the English, one should not rush to deem a person as a blasphemer. We can put that in parentheses because it's just continuation of the previous thought. And the parentheses here with this addition, if we want to commit to this subtitle here, which I think is not a bad idea, then it's okay, just to keep the thought connected there. Also, one should not rush to deem a person a blasphemer when he pronounced explicit blasphemy, without the hearer knowing the meaning of the expression. The hearer, the one who's hearing someone say blasphemy. So this is very, very, very important statement here. This is the statement that many people miss. If the people understood this sentence, then I think a significant percentage of questions about blasphemy would disappear. Because so many questions about blasphemy, they are about someone who does not understand what he's hearing and wants to know if he should deem a person as a kafir or not. He doesn't know what he is hearing. What does it mean? So, but there's something funny about it. It sets his alarms off. So what should he do? Well, the problem is the person gets confused and worried. Say, oh no, should I say my precautionary shahada? If you don't know what the statement means, then how are you going to deem a person as a kafir? So for right there, you should be at peace with the meaning of not worried about yourself. Maybe you're worried about the other person, but at the end of the day, you have the answer. You cannot, says you should not, you cannot deem a person as a kafir without knowing even what you are hearing. What are you going to do? You don't even know what he's saying. Now, if you're going to be concerned, that's someone you don't want him to be in a state of blasphemy. And so you are concerned, fine, that's fair, but you shouldn't be panicking and irrational, especially not for your own self hearing it. Sometimes that's what the question is. The person who hears the statement, now he's panicking and irrational because he doesn't know what to do. If it's not a clear blasphemy for you, you cannot deem the person as a kafir. So why are you going to be panicking and irrational? Meaning, you know the answer. You cannot deem him as a kafir. And without him knowing the meaning of the expression, without him knowing that the meaning of the expression is explicit blasphemy. So just take your time here. The people rush in these cases of blasphemy. They think that if they don't deem something as blasphemy immediately, then they are falling into blasphemy. And then right there, then they start panicking and they say something, some shahada or precautionary shahada, or they tell another person to say precautionary shahada, and then they turn around and go ask the questions. Some Hanafi scholars, as well as others, said that if a word has 70 blasphemous meanings and one meaning that is not blasphemy, anyone who pronounced this statement, this word here, I'm going to say statement. Just one word? No, just not meant here, one word. Yani, unless there's a meaning behind it. Meaning. What if I just said the word blasphemy only? So that's not blasphemy just to say one word. Or what if I said the word Zeus? Just the one word. It's not blasphemy. I'm not committing blasphemy for pronouncing a single word here in this way. Because there's no sentence, there's no connection between words, there's no meaning beyond just the meaning of that one word itself. So that's why I'm going to put it as statement here. So some Hanafi scholars, as well as others, they said that if a statement has 70 blasphemous meanings and one meaning that is not blasphemy, anyone who pronounced it is not deemed a blasphemer, unless it is known that he meant one of its blasphemous meanings. Okay, I think that's clear for you now. If a statement is not explicit in blasphemy, you cannot deem a person as a kafir unless you know that he meant the blasphemous meaning. And if it is explicit in blasphemy, you might still pause with the meaning of wanting to investigate to make sure he understands what he's saying. But if it's explicit blasphemy, you would be justified to deem him as a kafir because he said explicit blasphemy. No, you don't have to jump through hoops here. But you might perceive that he doesn't know what he's saying. Maybe he's a foreigner, doesn't know the words he's saying. Or maybe he's just very simple layman who doesn't know the best way to say things. Not educated. You know, once when I first started learning Arabic, subhanallah, I had a teacher, a female teacher. I could perceive that she's so good in Arabic, but I was just beginning. It's my first year. So I thought to myself, she's probably a poet. She's so good in Arabic, she's probably a poet. So you know what's poetry in Arabic is sher, the kasra, sher. But do you know what's hair in Arabic? Hair, shar, with the fatha. Same letters, different vowel. I told her, I would love to see your shar. Then she looked at me like, what? So I told her, I'd love to see your hair. I meant to say, I'd love to see your poetry. And some person doesn't know what he's saying. So anyone who pronounced it is not deemed as a blasphemer unless it is known this statement that has 70 meanings, 70 blasphemous meanings. But one is not blasphemy. What's the point of this example? The rule, we already took the rule. Why he gave this example after the rule is already clear? If it's not explicit, you can't deem him as a kafir without knowing what he meant. The point of this example is that most of its meanings are blasphemy. It has 71 meanings and 70 are blasphemy. So are you going to say, therefore, by virtue of the sheer number of blasphemous meanings, we're going to say that it's unlikely that he meant the non-blasphemous meaning, and I'm going to confirm him as a kafir? You cannot do it. And close to this example, is attributed to Abu Hanifa or Malik. And it is not authentic from either of them. But in meaning, it is correct, even if neither of those two Imams said it. Yani, some people said a correct statement, attributed it to Abu Hanifa or Malik, and this attribution is inauthentic, but the meaning is still true. Yeah, so what do? Don't attribute it to Abu Hanifa or Malik. Just say the true part only. Just say what's true, and then you'll be fine. What did Allah say? وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. Say an accurate statement. The widespread accepted vernacular of the later scholars in confirming the judgment of apostasy is, what is this translation here? وَالتَّعْبِيرُ الْمُقَرَّرُ عِنْدَ الْفُقَهَاءِ الْمُتَأَخِّرِينَ. So let's say expression. Use an easier word. Okay, let's just say expression. Ta'bir. The widespread accepted expression of the later scholars in confirming the judgment of apostasy, meaning how do they express the way to confirm the judgment of apostasy? They said, if a word, yani a statement, the word kalima in Arabic, it has the meaning of statement. We learned that before in different lessons. Kalima, if a statement has ways that dictate blasphemy and one way that does not, then the one who is giving the verdict, the one who's giving the answer, does not deem this one as a kafir unless he is intending the blasphemous meaning, the speaker, unless the speaker is intending the blasphemous meaning. As for the word kalima, meaning statement, that's in the Quran. Allah says, "Qala rabbi irji'un." The kafir will say, "My Lord, send me back to the dunya. Return me. لعلي أعمل صالحا فيما تركت." Send me back to the dunya so that I may do righteous deeds that I had neglected. Kalla, he shall not be returned back to the dunya. In hiya illa kalimatun hu in hiya illa kalimatun huwa qailuha. All this that he said when he said, "Rabbi irji'un la'alli amalu salihan fi ma tarakt." My Lord, send me back so that I can do righteous deeds that I neglected. Allah says, "In hiya illa kalima." That's nothing but a word. Huwa qailuha. It's nothing but a word that he says. All of that is a kalima that's mentioned in the Quran. So I'm translating it here as statement. The widespread accepted expression of the later scholars in confirming the judgment of apostasy is, if a kalima, if a statement has ways that dictate blasphemy and one way that does not, then the one who is giving the verdict does not deem this one as a kafir unless he, the speaker, the one who said it, is intending the blasphemous meaning. And while we're still here, the word kalima, didn't we learn that a person could commit blasphemy by saying a single word? So why that's not here? Why it doesn't just mean word here, not statement? Let's look at an example we took. We took the example of someone, and now we gave the example of someone who's beating his child or his slave boy harshly. So someone said to him, "How could you do this? Aren't you a Muslim?" And then he said, "No," out of anger. He blasphemed. So he said a single word, "No." But just so that you know, there is an implied statement here because the meaning is, "No, I'm not a Muslim." But he's not saying all the rest of the words. He's only saying no. Like, for example, if someone says to you, "Are you going to the store?" Let's say you're going to the store. If someone says, "Are you going to the store?" So you might say yes, one word. But the real meaning is, "Yes, I am going to the store." The whole statement is the meaning. So let that be clear for you. The author said, and what they mean by "it can be taken many ways" is that it has many meanings. For a single word could have 10 something meanings. Yeah, a single word could have many meanings. Then you insert that word into a sentence. Or maybe when you put the words together, the statement now can have more than one meaning. A single word could have many meanings. And also, a statement composed of words could have many meanings, even if each word one by one might mean one thing. Like the Arabic word yad, if someone attributed yad to Allah, meaning an organ, though, meaning the limb of a human or of something else, a squirrel, a koala, a monkey. They have hands. Then he would be judged as a kafir because in that case he is comparing God to his creations. So, Yani, he used a word that can have many meanings, but he meant a blasphemous meaning, then he would be judged as a kafir. But anyone who attributed yad to Allah, meaning power or endowment, or another one of its meanings that do not compare Allah to his creations, he's not deemed as a disbeliever. So what if you don't know what he meant when you heard him say Yadullah, or in English, for example, he said hand of God or God's hand. And maybe this works. I don't know if it goes in all languages, but Allahu A'lam. But yani, I imagine that in many languages you have the same type of figurative meaning for whatever their word for hand is. Then you're not going to rush to deem that person as a kafir without knowing what he meant. According to these details, one is judged for his interpretation of yad as an attribute of Allah in the Quran. If he says, well, we take it as it appears, then that's blasphemy. If he says, no, I take it as it appears, but I don't know how it is, this is still blasphemy. If he says, but no, because I take it as it appears, but I'm not saying it's a body part, then we say to him, you're contradicting yourself, though. So which one you want? You want to take it as it appears, or you want to say it's not a body part? You can't have both of those. The same goes for whoever interprets istiwa over the throne. So, yani, arsh means throne in a literal sense, or translates as throne. But I always feel like this just leaves someone with an impression that it shouldn't. Because it's not a chair. It's the ceiling of, it's the canopy of paradise. It's over paradise. It's like the sky for paradise. I feel more comfortable with just calling it arsh. The same goes for whoever interprets istiwa over the arsh as sitting. He blasphemes. Or the maji in God's saying in Surah Al-Fajr, وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَجِيءُ الْوَارِدَ والمجيء الوارد في قوله تعالى في سورة الفجر. It's not explained right here at the moment. So the same goes for whoever interprets here the whoever interprets the istiwa over the arsh as sitting, or for whoever interprets the maji in God's saying in Surah Al-Fajr, وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ. So where's the word maji? It's from here, the word ja'a. Ja'a is past tense verb. In a very literal sense means coming, approaching. Yani, that's past tense verb, so it means came, approached. But, so, therefore, someone might say, when he explains this ayah, your Lord comes, and the angels. Your Lord and the angels come, or approach. For whoever interprets the istiwa over the arsh is sitting, or whoever interprets the maji in this ayah as relocating. In other words, this doesn't mention here, but hold on. Let me just read this Arabic with the English, make sure it's translated well. وعلى من يفسر الاستواء على العرش الوارد فيه. And the same goes for whoever interprets the istiwa over the arsh that came in the Quran, or the maji, والمجيء الوارد في قوله تعالى, or and the maji that came in God's saying in Surah Al-Fajr, وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. I just want to make sure, and if we read the Arabic, the English as it is, it's not going to be bad, but I want to make sure it's closer to the Arabic. So, here. Like the Arabic word yad, if someone attributed yad to Allah, meaning an organ, meaning the limb of a human or something else, then he would be judged as a kafir because, as a disbeliever, blasphemer. Because in that case, he is comparing God to his creations. But anyone who attributed yet to Allah, meaning power, endowment, or another one of its meanings that do not compare Allah to his creations, he is not deemed as a disbeliever. According to these details, one is judged for his interpretation of yet as an attribute of Allah in the Quran. And the same goes for and the same rule goes for whoever interprets the istiwa over the arsh. Yeah, so as sitting doesn't say as sitting here, not at this spot. Here, the same, let's add here, rule. The same rule goes for whoever interprets the istiwa over the arsh. How does he interpret it? This way or that way? Or, oh wait, the istiwa over the arsh that came in the Quran. That came, yani, in the Quran. Or for whoever interprets the Majid. This is the same rule that came in God's saying in Surah Al-Fajr. وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ. Okay, now what I just did right here is I replaced the brackets for the ayah because some of our sheikhs taught us to put the ayahs of the Quran between two Hosseini Mutamayyizain. Put them between two nice brackets. Put the verses of the Quran between beautiful brackets. So I just wanted to switch the brackets there. So the same goes for whoever interprets the istiwa over the arsh that came in the Quran, or the Majid that came in God's saying in Surah Al-Fajr. وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ. Yani the same rule applies to the one who explains the Majid. فَإِنْ فَسَّرَ الْيَدَ بِالْجَارِحَةِ. If he interprets the yad as a body part, أو الاستواء بالجلوس, or the istiwa as sitting, أو الاستقرار, or dwelling, أو علو المكان, or highness of place, والمسافة, and distance. أي فسر الوارد بالمعنى الحسي, meaning he interpreted what came in the religious texts according to a physical meaning. الذي هو من صفات المخلوق، أو فسر المجيء بأنه كمجيء الإنسان والملائكة بالانتقال والحركة من جهة إلى جهة. Or if he interprets the Majid as the same meaning as when a human approaches or an angel comes forth, transferring by motion from one direction to another, he blasphemes. Okay, now it's good. Much closer to the Arabic. So let me read it one more time here. And the same rule goes for whoever interprets the istiwa over the arsh that came in the Quran. Or, yani, same rule for whoever interprets the Majid. Yani, if you interpret it the right way, you're safe. If you interpret it the wrong way, which is a blasphemous way, then you would blaspheme. The Majid that came in God's saying in Surah Al-Fajr, وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ. If he interprets the yad as a body part, or the istiwa as sitting, or dwelling, or highness of place, and distance, meaning he interpreted what came in the religious texts according to a physical meaning that is an attribute of the creations. Or if he interprets the Majid as the same meaning as when a human approaches or an angel comes forth. Okay, blasphemes. Very clear. Based on what has been presented, we say, had we heard a person saying, for example, Salah upon the Nabi is disliked. So this sentence, in order for it to work, we need to keep the Arabic word Salah and the Arabic word Nabi. This doesn't translate into English and has the same case. For a person to say Salah upon the Nabi is disliked. So based on what has been presented, we say, had we heard a person saying, for example, Salah upon the Nabi is disliked, it would not be appropriate to rush to deem him as a disbeliever. Rather, he would be asked what he means, because the Arabs use the word Nabi for a high mound, a mound. Yani means like a small hill. If it became clear that he meant the salat, performing the prayer on a nabi, a high mound, should be avoided, since this distracts from having reverence for God, then this talk is correct. As-salatu ala nabi makruh. Salat upon a nabi is disliked, because you're trying to keep your balance while you're praying. This is disliked. It's avoided. But if it became clear by this saying of his that he meant these salat, the special supplications upon the Nabi, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, should be avoided, then he would be a disbeliever. It is documented in the dictionary Al-Qamus and elsewhere that the word Nabi has these two meanings. Wallahu alam. We'll stop there. Do you have any question I can answer for you?